simply telling you the structure of this whole orientation. Firstly, we'll try to give you a little introduction on what corporate laws are and academically wise, as well as real career, what can we do about it. Secondly, the center, which has been recently trying to take up more initiatives and start new things, will be briefing you about that as well. And then the future vision, the plan of the center to in the next upcoming years, where we want to go, what are the new upcoming initiatives that we have. And lastly, we'll end it with a question answer and all the doubts that you have. We'll try to resolve them. With this, Anjali, would you like to take up the next part? I believe you can tell them about the past and future endeavors of the center.
Sure, I think we can start with that.
Yeah.
Sanchita, the next slide. Right. So just to give you a little background, guys, the Center for Corporate Law actually has started working very, very dynamically since the past tenure itself. So everything that we've done is in a very experimental and nascent stage. So with this was actually the first endeavor, the monthly updates that you see on your screen right now. This was the first thing that we started, and we started publishing monthly corporate law updates in the field of insolvency law, securities law, and companies law. And we started doing that in January 2021. So through the course of the various editions that we've published, we took a lot of feedback from the student body, and we made a lot of changes, and we've incorporated almost every constructive criticism that we've received, and we plan on doing that in the future as well. As of now, we are covering only three updates with respect to three laws, primarily the insolvency law, securities law, and companies law. But we do plan on expanding the scope of the monthly updates in the near future. And like Devansh rightly told you that earlier the center members, the constitution was smaller in number. We were 12, I guess, in the last tenure, and in this tenure we'll be 17, including the two members from your batch. So I'm assuming that with a lot of manpower, we'll be able to create something a lot more dynamic. And also we plan on, Devansh, can you share the screen and maybe share the last month's update that we've created, August updates?
Yeah. So for that, I think Sansita will have to stop the sharing.
Stop sharing.
Sansita, can you do that?
Right. Sanchita, can you do that? We have a website for the Center for Corporate Law where you can find all the endeavors in the different respective columns. And yes, you can approach the website in order to find out what we've been up to. And we'll be sharing the screen and showing you how exactly does that work. Okay, we have a question already. What is the difference between a center and a committee? We'll be taking up all of the questions, guys. Thank you so much for showing the interest.
Anjali, is my screen visible?
Not as of now, Devansh. I cannot. I think it's loading.
Okay.
I think it is loading. Okay, now it is presenting.
Thanks. Okay, so guys, right now on my screen you can see this is the CCL website. We have the CCL blog, the monthly updates, all the events about that, and in that the latest one, which we published, was of August. So you'll click the PDF, you'll see something like this. Let it load. Yeah. So see, this is the monthly corporate law updates. The major areas concerned have been written here, and it's a document. It's a very short document, just to give you whatever happened in the last month, whatever important new updates came out in all the areas of corporate law, be it insolvency or we try to cover and be as diverse as possible. So this can help you get to know corporate law better, at least the latest updates, and with practice, I mean, you'll have to follow it up. Maybe first two editions you'll feel you don't understand much, but it will get easier. So with this, Anjali, do you want me to show something else on the website, or?
No, it's fine, I think. Yeah, so with respect to the monthly corporate
Sansita, you can
law
continue
updates.
that.
Yes, you can switch to the presentation. So we'd really appreciate if the first years right now you could go through the document that we've created and provide us with any constructive criticism. We'd really appreciate it, and we'll definitely try to incorporate a lot of what you've told us. That is the approach that we've taken since the beginning, and I'm hoping that we'll continue with the same in the near future as well. So yeah, I mean that's about it for the monthly updates. Whatever questions you have regarding the same, you can just keep that to yourself for now, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end where you can pose all of your questions together. So yeah, that was one of the things that we've done so far. The next thing is the CCL NLUO blog. Now, I think Devansh, you can take us to the blog if it's possible for you on the website itself.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. No problem. Yeah, just a second. It's loading.
Sure, sure. Guys, I hope we are audible and entirely understandable to you all. If you have any issues at any point, please do let us know. We'll change our approach towards.
Right.
Right. So
Sure.
in the same website that Devansh just showed you, we have the CCL blog, which we've started in the previous tenure itself. And actually, this is a very, the editorial process is quite different from other blogs. We have a double peer review process whereby the blogs that are sent in are first verified by the student editors. And after that, we send them to our board of editors, which comprises of a lot of like prominent personalities, industry specialists, and all. I'll give you a name. I'll give you all the names of the board of editors that we have as of now. So, in the board of editors, we have Mr. Stephen Levesky, who is a merger clearance and antitrust counsel based in New York. Then we have Mr. Anshuman Sakle, who is a partner with the competition and antitrust law practice at Cyril Amarchal Mangaldas. That's a tier one law firm. A lot of you might be aware of what tier one law firms are, but if you're not, please do ask us all the questions that you have. We'll address them. They will be addressed by our seniors later. Then we have Ms. Rashmi Deshpande, who is a partner with the indirect law and practice finance law practice at
Uh,
J. Sagar Associates.
Anjali, sorry to interrupt,
Uh,
but I think you were not audible for the last 15 seconds. Can you uh, repeat that? You're talking about
okay,
Rashmi, ma'am.
am I audible at this point? Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are. Yes.
All right. So, Ms. Rashmi ma'am is a partner with Khaitan and Company and practices indirect law practice. Anjana Poti ma'am practices banking and finance law with J. Sagar Associates. Then we have Mr. Ketan D. Parik sir, who is a senior counsel at the High Court of Bombay. And we also have Mr. Anish Jaipuriar. He is actually an alumnus of National Law University Odisha, so we are really proud of all of his achievements. And he's a partner with the corporate and commercial law practice at AKS Partners, which is a firm based out of Mumbai. So that's about the blog. That is these are the board of editors that we have, and even the blog is in a very nascent stage. So we're still figuring everything out. We yeah, so we'll just figure everything out as we go along it. So I think so far we've published more than 30 articles on the blog, and we're hoping to improve the quality of the publications and improve the quality of the editorial process that we conduct. So yes, that's it, I think, about the blog. And any questions that you have in this respect, please do remember them for now and just let us know later. We'll address all of them. I think we can move on to the next slide with Shansita Devan. If Devansh, you have anything to add about the blog,
Yeah,
please do.
I think you covered it up nicely. And in the
All
future
right.
course of action, we'll try to again, as Anjali mentioned, we'll include more editors. We will try to improve the quality, and we're looking forward to your contribution as well.
Definitely, guys. So you can you can consider the CCL blog if you're looking to publish your articles based out of corporate law. We're definitely looking forward to reviewing the same, and it will be a nice thing to do it. So, Sanjita, the next slide, I think you can move to that.
Uh, Sansita, do Do we have you?
It's already the second, like the next screen only, the certificate course on the due diligence. That one we have to cover, Anjali.
Okay, so we do not have the slides. What is happening? I'm sorry. Devansh, is the screen visible to you, or am I
Uh,
facing an issue in
no,
this
no, no,
slide?
no. So I think the Sansita is saying that the next slide is about the certificate course on due diligence that we did. And do you want me to share? Because it's a little hassle, I believe. Sansita can, right?
Howsoever it is convenient for you guys, please
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me do that. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay. So very recently we conducted a 2-day certificate course on the topic of practical aspect of due diligence. This course was conducted by our alumnus, Mr. Anshuman Vikram Singh, who is right now working at AZB and Partners as a senior associate. He also has a lot of corporate experience. He's worked previously with Samvad Partners, DMD Advocates, and is a very accomplished alumnus for our college. So I think this was the second time that he conducted the same course for the students of this university. So we're hoping to bring very similar experiences for the coming batches. And essentially, the idea to provide such courses is to give the students a clue about how to work about in the real corporate world. So the course that was delivered by Mr. Anshuman sir was very, very informative, was found to be very, very knowledgeable by the participants who attended it. So we're hoping to conduct more such courses in the future. Devansh, what do we have next? Okay, so somebody has a question as to whether we will be conducting it again. So I think as of now, we cannot commit to whether we'll be conducting the same course, but if at all it is desired or it is requested by the students, we can definitely look into the prospects, and if not, we can arrange an alternative that will be just as informative. So do not worry, guys. Like obviously, you would have missed out on a lot of what has happened already in the university, but it's okay. You'll catch up, and we'll definitely try to do something similar for you in the near future. I hope that answers your query, but we'll try to address it more in the later part of the orientation, in the question and answer session, basically. Right. So yeah, the next endeavor that I'm talking about is the guest lecture series. Now, this is something that we started very, very recently because we do believe that the classroom education that we're receiving might not be enough in order to give everybody an insight into the subject matter. So we've conducted 2 guest lectures so far. One was with Mr. Stephen Levitsky. If you remember, I also took his name in the board of editors. So he also works with us as a board of editor in the board of editor. And he took a lecture on the topic of the challenges to big tech, and gave us the insight into how the antitrust practices are going about in the jurisdiction of United States of America. So that was about that. And then we also had Mr. Indrajit Dubey, who conducted the lecture on the topic of the role of promoters in a group company, and delved into the intricacies of the Tata mystery case. So that was about that. These are the 2 lectures that we've conducted so far, but we're definitely looking forward to conduct more such lecture series. And the course outline that we decide for such lecture series is actually very much in alignment with the course structure that we do have. As in, whatever we're studying in the corporate law class, we'll try to bring somebody, some industry expert, who will give us a more detailed information about the same subject matter, whatever has been going on. So that is the concept behind the lecture series. And we are open to suggestions. If you guys have anybody that you think we can bring, and do let us know. Like, do reach out to any of the CCL members if you think that there is an endeavor that you think we can undertake, which will be very beneficial for you all. We will definitely try to look into the prospect of anything and everything constructive. Devansh, next slide. Right. Webinar by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Actually, the National University Odisha and the ICSI entered into a memorandum of understanding a little while ago. And in furtherance of the same MOU, we conducted Law University Odisha.
I think Anjali is facing the network issue, Devansh.
Where
Yeah,
our
yeah. I'll let
faculty
him.
So
itself, the
you can.
faculty.
Uh,
Am I
I think Devansh can take up from there. You're facing the network issue. Meanwhile, you can please check the network and maybe
sure,
change your network
sure, I'll do
condition.
that. I'll do that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is the last endeavor.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Devan, go forward. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So, right, guys, let me, all these endeavors and events that we've been talking about, just in case if you feel like you've missed it and you want to get to know about the latest ones, updates. So, on the website itself, let me show it to you once again. We do have an events page wherein all the events that we have conducted, we will be conducting, and of course, after this moment, you'll be getting all the mails itself. But we do have on the website itself the events page wherein all these lectures, the guest lectures that we have conducted recently, you'll be able to access them. And because it's been uploaded on the YouTube channel of CCL, so right here you can see the guest lecture by Dr. Indrajit Dubey. It's already on YouTube. So you can check the website, you can get the link from there. And of course, all the other events as well. We try our best to record if the permission is there. The ICSI MOU and the webinar. It's already there. And so that really sums up the past endeavors that we have. These series, which have been started, will try our best to bring in more guests, more people in. And so, of course, and we have certain recordings, you can access them. I think that sums up the events part. And after this, Arshit, we have the future endeavors. I think Shashwat, if you can throw some light upon the future endeavors and the vision of the center now, that would be great.
Right. Hi, guys. I'm Shashwat. Thank you so much, Devansh and Anjali, for introducing us with the current endeavors of the center. I'll now be talking about a number of future endeavors that we have planned for the center. First of all, let's talk about the book effort that we have ongoing. CCL is currently working on publishing an edited volume of contemporary issues in insolvency and bankruptcy in collaboration with EBC, Eastern Book Company. We started working on this book in the previous tenure of the center, and as of now, we've sent across the call for chapters to the respected uh, writers. And the center will soon start the editorial process, and we are obviously looking for submissions from some great legal luminaries, partners of top tier law firms, researchers from across the country for our book. Next up, we have an interview series planned. In furtherance of interacting with the industry experts, the center shall also be conducting interviews with distinguished personalities. We're in touch with a host of legal luminaries, including top tier law firm partners, consultants, judges, and the like. We hope to be able to get out more such interviews for you to give you an insight into the legal world from the first interview. We also are working on a journal. So, as you're aware, we have our blog ongoing on corporate laws, and we've been publishing these blogs for quite a while now. But now we plan on taking this to the next step, and we're working on launching our own corporate law review journal in the near future. Apart from that, of course, we have the certificate courses and guest lectures that Anjali told you about. And we are planning on getting more and more of those to you as soon as possible. We are also working on a research project, the details of which shall be disclosed to you soon. In your first year, you'd come across many research centers in the college, right? CCL, of course, is one such and comes under the same umbrella. And as the name suggests, our primary motive behind being a research center is to conduct extensive research in collaboration with perhaps government agencies, organizations, and other institutes. While we haven't been able to organize a research project till now, we are actively working on the same, and the details shall be announced very soon. Lastly, We are also working on organizing competitions and quizzes in collaboration with law firms. And these quizzes and competitions will help you and incentivize you to be a part and take keen interest in the developments of the corporate world. And we hope that you will have a great time in these competitions. Details, of course, will be divulged later on. And we hope that you find our vision for the CCL to be intriguing, and we would love for you to be a part of this endeavor. Thank you, guys.
Right. Thank you, Shashwat, for the future endeavors. And now I think if all of the things are covered up, we only have to talk about the questions and the doubts that you have regarding the CCL or anything in general about corporate law and the career in corporate law. Ashit and Kartike and Shashwat, would you take it over from here?
Yeah.
Can you?
Okay. Thank you, Devansh. Thank you
Yeah.
for explaining the current endeavors. Thank you, Shashwat, for explaining the future endeavors. Thank you, Anjali, for covering that part. So now, this is a center for corporate law. Now, first years might be very interested in corporate law, but this is a question which CCL guys always put to first years. What is corporate law? I mean, what do you understand? What is your notion of corporate law? If anyone wants to answer in the chat box. Yeah, you can also unmute yourself, Prerna. Siddhant.
The law which governs all business entities and which come under the jurisdiction of NCLAT.
You are correct in your first part, but might not be correct in your second. Okay, Siddhant.
I mean, essentially, isn't corporate law a sort of framework which governs the corporations, right? Any law which governs the corporation would be considered corporate law. Rules and regulation, laws, etc.
A better definition, Siddhant. Adriti.
Is corporate law that law that governs transactions between different companies and different mergers and acquisitions that might take place in the corporate world or private entities for that matter?
Yes, Adriti, it does cover that, but there can be a more exhaustive definition of it. Ashvi.
So corporate law is a body of law like that governs the companies and the organizations and businesses, and also it sees how the conduct of persons and rights and relations are governed.
Anvesha says my idea of thank you, Ashvi. Anvesha says my idea of corporate law, people's lifestyle is purely inspired by suits. Well, corporate law is not all about lifestyle. It has just been over glorified in the recent years. Now, corporate law, as rightly pointed out by most of you, it is particularly about corporate. It is about business, not any business entity, guys, but yes, it is about companies, it is about corporations. So does that mean that we have to only understand the law part of corporate law and we can be the great lawyers in the corporate law arena? No. To understand corporate law in detail, we shall endeavor to understand every aspect of businesses. We must follow the entire set of business news we can take in. We must follow a business newspaper. We must, I don't know, my father do watch that CNBC TV 18, which, has programs on capital markets, which covers on capital markets. Now, I also regularly follow that. Now, you may also follow. And corporate law is learning all about finance. So yesterday only we were discussing this in our meetings that someone raised a question during the discussion on our monthly updates that we don't know what corporate law is. We haven't studied insolvency law, securities law, and all. So how should we approach? How should we write on corporate laws? So this is what I always say, and I quote a great lawyer called Mr. Somsekhar Sundaresan, that the job of law students and lawyers is not to have a divine insight into the law. Our job is to interpret the law. Now, to interpret the law, we must be aware of the subject matter of the law, what the law is governing. If the law is governing the businesses, we must know the businesses in detail. If economy is affecting the businesses, we must learn about economy. If political affairs are, uh, just aiding the businesses, we must learn about those, political affairs. Now, when it comes to political affairs, also I do mention that corporate lawyers are a part of organization like ICC and FICCI, and they lobby the laws for their clients. All the partners all the managing partners of tier one law firms are, members of ICC, chambers of commerce and FICCI. And this is how we can approach corporate law in detail. Now, I would come to the particulars of it, but I would also give the floor to my fellow friend Karthikeya, who would be speaking further.
Thanks a lot, Arshit. So I believe Arshit has very well summed up as to what is expected out of you when you call yourself to be interested in corporate law, right? Because for example, I personally do not say myself to be interested or even know what corporate law is, because I personally am, when I say I'm interested in particular law, I can barely say that I'm interested in arbitration law for that matter, because I know what a dispute is, like what is a bone of contention or where does disputes arise, right? And how these disputes escalate and how can this be resorted through arbitration. And this arbitration can obviously cover in certain laws which needs to be applied in that arbitration process. However, when someone says, right, because I say that I'm interested in arbitration law, I am expected to, know even the dispute part of it, like even the court aspect of it. I need to differentiate between how arbitration law may be different from a court process. Similarly, when you say that you're interested in corporate law, like I do not say that arbitration does not form part of the corporate law. It obviously does, because most of the transactions now that happen have an arbitration clause in them, right? So when you say that you're interested in a particular area of law, suppose Arshit, goes around and claims that, he knows insolvency and bankruptcy law. So when he says that, right, he knows where that law arose. What was the reason why this law was needed, right? And not just, the object clause of that statute, but the business part of it. Like he knows as to how this how this insolvency law solves the basic problems that businesses were facing before that. So I believe you should revisit the statements what Arshit has given. You should revisit the statements given out by Mr. Somsekhar, right, in varied of his interviews. Like he stated this repetitively. So you should revisit these things, and only then you have to evaluate for yourself as to whether or not you're really interested in corporate law, right? Because like let me be very frank, right? When I first came to NLUO Odisha, and I saw my seniors getting placed in tier one law firms like whatever Trilegal, CAM, and stuff like that, and I heard as to what the packages were and what the packages can go up to. That was the qualifying feature for me, that okay, dude, I'm interested in corporate law. But actually that was not the case, right? Because I ended up having been interested in disputes, and I never ever interned even a single time in the general corporate department or even bank, like any corporate law department for that matter. In any corporate law, I have been working with the arbitration teams of all these corporate law firms, right? So that's the thing. Like when you come and you see that these fancy things and fancy connotations are attached to it, you come with the images that have been created by these fictional series, right, as pointed out by Devansh at the very first minute of this conversation that you're having, right? Like you come to these colleges and watching Suits and stuff like that. So I know that these are very fascinating, and these can be fascinating in your like when you reach that level. But to reach that level, you have to make up your mind first, right? Whether or not you're really interested, or you can call yourself to be interested. So yeah, these are my things. These are things which I can add. Now, yeah, we can take up more questions.
Yes, Karthike. Before the question, so Karthike particularly mentioned, now if I rephrase it, that corporate has, two aspects. Corporate law has two aspects. If I divide corporate law, one part forms corporate transactions and the other forms corporate disputes. So someone was mentioning about suits here, right? Have you ever seen some lawyers, going to court and some not going to the court? I mean, Louis Litt goes and argue in the court, and Harvey Specter used to go and argue in the court. But there were some lawyers, right? Who did not go to the court, who particularly worked only in the office. Yes. So the lawyers which go to the court and argue for the corporates are the corporate lawyers practicing in corporate disputes. The other lawyers who do the back end work and all are the lawyers handling the transaction part of it. Now, the general notion in the corporate law arena is that corporate lawyers primarily do the transactions work. They are transactional lawyers. Some people who admire disputes a lot always use this, as a matter of contempt, that, oh, you're a bloody transactional lawyer, stay away. Karthike hasn't done this yet, though. He's a great admirer of disputes. Now, so this is what corporate law can be introduced as. Now, this session can be more engaging. You can put in questions related to this part of it, and then we'll go on and discuss about the corporate law internships. So, any question, guys?
I think we have a few questions in the chat box, Arshad.
Right. Should I read it to you, Arshad? Would that be okay?
Yes. Specifically, which comes under the scope of this topic we are discussing.
Right. So the latest one is does IPR come within the ambit of corporate law?
Okay. So IPR. Now, IPR governs three primary subject matters. One is copyright, one is trademarks, and one is patents. Now, patent law, when patents are done by corporations, yes, they come under the ambit of corporate law. Trademarks, when done by corporations, they come under the ambit of corporate law. And copyright, not always, because we have musicians having the copyrights, we have artists having the copyrights, and sometimes some filmmaking companies and all can have copyrights. So that might come into corporate law. So if I make a Venn diagram, there can be some area which would be intersecting between IPR and corporate law, and there can be some area which would not intersect. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, so also, you need to see that whenever you want to classify certain laws as corporate law or non-corporate law. So, there are things like let's take this current example of IPR, right? So these are things which are strictly, these can be things which are strictly compliance based, right? Because what is IPR? Like you apply for the rights, for exclusive rights to use your name for use of product or the way you make that product, right? So these are very compliance part of it, right? And there are disputes which arise on that, on those aspects. So when these are dealt with exclusively in different forums, yeah, they can be called to be a field in their independence. However, you need to see that at the back end, like when Arshad pointed out that there are people who do not actually, there are people from the corporate law team who actually do not go to the court, right? They do these all compliance work. So when these disputes arise, right, when these costs as to IPR arise, when you are going for a merger, or you're going for such transactions, you also transfer these rights, right? You also account for the cost that you've incurred for it. Now, these things obviously form part of that corporate law arena, because that is actually affecting the company in itself as a whole and not exclusively with respect to its name or trademark. So yeah, when it comes to that aspect, as to how do these things are accounted for in the company's profile, they can form part of the corporate law, definitely. But when they are exclusively dealt as to in compliances or the disputes exclusively rising out of an IPR right, whether or not the company possesses that right and whether or not the company actually has the right, yeah, that can be dealt with in a completely different subject matter called like IPR.
Okay, I think that answers the questions. And now there are some questions which generally relate to the center, which says that how to apply, what do we expect out of the first years, and what basically is their role will be. What will be the
Devanshu, you
role?
may note that down and we'll take it afterwards because,
Okay, yeah,
we
this
are having a
relates.
discussion on corporate law specifically.
Okay, there's a question which has been repeated is like, will BA or BBA make a difference to have a career in corporate?
Karthik, would you take that up?
Yeah, sure. So no, I don't think it actually makes any difference. Like simply put and logically put, is that in the 5 years that you're here, right? That is the 10 semesters that you have and the 60 subjects that you will have. So all the law subjects out of it, right? All the law subjects, whatever 60 subjects form part of the 10 semesters, all the law subjects of it would be common for both BA and BBA, right? So when it comes to company laws like insolvency laws, arbitration law, or for that matter, any law which is related to corporate law and remotely, taxation law, right, would be taught equally and in the same content as it taught to BBA and a BA student, right? So that won't make any difference. The only difference, like if you have to find out, is that there are certain subjects like which are not taught to BA, because BA being Bachelor of Arts, they have sociology being taught to them in detail. However, for a BBA student, because it's business management or business management per se, business administration, we have emphasis on business studies and stuff like those. So if you believe, like I personally don't think so, but if you believe that you know a classroom teaching of business studies does really help you in your career, well and good, you have made a difference by picking up BBA over BA, and you have bright future in corporate law just because you have been taught an extra 4 months in BST. But I believe that who have come from the corporate law, I mean commerce background, really know what business studies have been, yeah, in course of your 11th and 12th. That really does not make any sense. So uh, to answer your question in one word, it does not make any difference personally for me, because I don't think a classroom teaching or the way actually it is taught, these hardcore management subjects do not make any difference in your career.
Just to add a little bit to that, as Karthik rightly pointed out, it honestly does not make a lot of difference. You can consider the example of the three of us. Arshad and I are students of BA, while Karthik is pursuing BBA. All three of us are eventually pursuing corporate law, if you want to put it like that. And all three of us are part of this center which deals with corporate law. So, yeah, it does not make that big of a difference. But of course, if you need certain structural understanding, clarifications on certain core points, BBA, being a part of a BBA class would perhaps help you or give you an edge over some of the BA subjects or BA students.
Yes, Shaswat, pertinently put. Now, to understand it further, that whether BA or BBA makes a difference, I think there's a question that how can a first year, what should a first year do to have a career in corporate law? First thing is to understand the corporate law. Now, how can a first year understand the corporate law? Whether BA people would only be able to understand corporate law or BBA people would only be to understand the corporate law. These can be the questions lurking in your mind, right? So, as I already pointed out, that to understand corporate law, you must understand the business. And to understand the business, BBA might iron out the creases for you, might not. But you must follow the business newspaper, you must follow a business news channel, you must try to understand the intricacies of business, the economy, all this stuff. High school economics, high school business studies, high school accountancy, these kind of things. How to read a balance sheet, these kind of stuff. I am not saying that you should devote the entire time in these kind of things because you are here to become a lawyer and not a management professional or something. But, as I said, our job is to interpret the law. And to interpret the law, we must understand the subject matter of the law. Now, if BA people or BBA people would be able to do that, they'll be able to, have an equal scale while approaching the corporate laws. Furthermore, we might also try to understand the origin of corporate law. Guys, I'm not talking particularly about Indian jurisdiction here, but how does corporate law came to picture? They're just a set of statutes. Before that, was there a vacuum? No. There was no vacuum. The law of torts came to picture. What was evolved by the common law courts. People came together. They formed a structure. That structure later evolved as a company. Then they started having disputes. They went to the common law courts. Common law courts started, adjudicating over those disputes. A pattern was formed. A practice was formed. The statutes in corporate law are a crystallized form of practices. So as a first year, you must try to, focus on tort law. You must continue to focus on contract law as and when it comes. You must try to follow the business news. There's a very brilliant newspaper I follow, Business Standard. You can also follow the Economic Times. You can take subscription of Bloomberg Quint. There's an app called FinShots, brilliant app covering economics, right? So these are the things you can do to basically make a career in corporate law. But I would like to throw a caveat here. Don't just assume that you are interested in corporate law. I mean, I and Karthike and Shashwat, or for that matter, Devansh, we were never really sure of that we want to become a corporate lawyer in our first year itself. And we did not want to be sure. We basically, tried reading every law. I read constitutional law. I remember a book by Zia Modi I read. I read every law possible. I tried to intern in the courts also. I interned at a NGO also. I tried to discover as much as I can. And later on, I felt, corporate law is something that I can pursue. So for the first 2 years, the norm should be that you should try to, to read about every single branch of law. You should be aware of everything. And then when you'd be sure that you will be pursuing in this area of law, then continue. Karthike, would you?
Yeah. So since we have, dealt upon this and we have like almost reaching the time, so I'll just, quickly sum it up as to certain questions with regards to internships. And like you must be, be very confused in your first year as to, when you see that, see or hear terms like tier 1 law firms, things like corporate law, arbitration law, IPR law, competition law. So when you hear these terms, like you must feel, or there might be certain doubts as to, whether or not I am made for it, or whether or not I'll be able to cope up with these things or these complications. So let me be very frank that these were the things which also popped up in my head for a couple of months when I started out my law school, right? So the only antidote to these things and the only thing that I can give you clarity is to try out things, right? So from the very first, months of my law school, I started writing papers. I started writing articles, right? So like when you see my LinkedIn profile or anything anywhere, you'll be able to see like 15-20 publications, right? And these all range from all different laws possible, like starting off with competition law, insolvency law, constitutional law, arbitration law. So these ranges, like, and only after doing these things or exposing myself to these things, I discovered that okay, my interest lies in dispute resolution, or as to arbitration more specifically. So you need to participate, right? You need to take up moot court competitions, you need to take up paper writing, article writing, blog writing, right? You need to take up ADR competitions, right? And only then you'll have a first hand experience as to your interest. Only then you'll be able to discover whether or not you're interested, right? And let it make it very clear for you that don't even think about tier 1 internships or even tier 2 internships in your first or the second year, please, right? Because that, like, even if you able to get it from contacts, or your father is a big shot or something like that, it won't help you, because you have to grind in law, like courts, right? You have to grind with independent practitioners. You can obviously go for senior advocates, you can go for them, because these are the people who would teach you from the basis, like how the law is actually applied and how the law is actually implemented, right? And only then you'd have the confidence and the caliber to take up work in a tier 1 or tier 2 law firms, right? So yeah, these are certain things which I wanted to add. Arshit, yeah.
I'll just add something here before Arshad pitches in. As Karthikeya said, it's a strict no-no for you to be considering tier 1 internships at this stage. On the contrary, actually, what you should be targeting, because I can see this question that asks, how should we prepare ourselves to explore corporate law in the first year? What should we do? What should we do to be decisive? So instead of starting with tier 1 internships, what you can instead do is start with the smallest of places, start with the smallest of corporate law firms, start with independent practitioners dealing with that subject area if you really feel up for it. And these are the places that will give you the most exposure. These are the places which will give you a hands-on experience and make you do everything from the smallest task to actually drafting the whole petition or drafting the whole contract and things like that. So if you really want exposure, and if you really want to make up your mind as to whether this is the kind of work that you are really set for life to do, tier 1 internships are not the way to go. You should start small and then do all of this within the first 2 or 3 internships of your law school journey and try to make up your mind. Of course, all of this only holds true if you already have this notion in your head that you want to explore and you want to try corporate law. If that part is still not certain in your head, definitely take the course that Arshad suggested and try out all possible options for you, be it any other law or any other institution.
Thank you, Shaswat. Pertinently put, Shaswat. So, we'll come to the internships in a second, though. But there's a last question, I think, when it comes to the topic of corporate law, that how should we prepare ourselves to explore corporate law in first year? What should we do to be decisive? What I suggest is don't be decisive. I mean, if you decide to pursue corporate law and later on regret and say that you are more inclined to do, human rights law and all, so you wouldn't be able to come back and just read that sociology in detail and then pursue in human rights law or constitutional law or any kind of soft laws for that matter. Now, what one should do is to try out every branch of law, every single thing that you can do in your first 2 years, and then be sure of it. I was sure of me being a corporate lawyer, of me pursuing corporate law in my third semester. Now, as Shaswat suggested, I also did the same. I went, Shaswat, to a lawyer. If you know, Mr. Swanendu Chatterjee. He came to a CCL course only, and
Yes,
I
I
interacted with
recall.
him. I interacted with him, and I actually requested for an internship. He gave me one, and then we used to go to NCLT together. We used to go to N class together. We went to a matter concerning SEBI. and a matter concerning RBI notification. These kind of things intrigued me much. And then I was able to, be sure that I want to be a corporate lawyer in my future. Earlier, I was very sure of being a corporate disputes lawyer. But later on, I went to a firm called L&L Partners, and a firm before that, Chandyok and Mahajan Associates, these two firms. So these two firms gave me some work of the transactions part of the law. Well, there can be different beliefs. We'll be having some higher level discussion session behind the academy block when we come physically. But for now, I would just like to say that I got intrigued with transactions part of it too, and I am pursuing corporate transaction. This way, I discovered my thing. Everyone is discovering theirs. Everyone has their own story. Make your story a good one. Present it to the HR and become the lawyer you want. So, is there a question regarding the corporate law, or should we just,
I think we have just this last question that students have repeatedly asked about how to broaden their knowledge and how to start perceiving information in the field of corporate law. So I think I'll just briefly talk about this, and then Karthik and Arshad can take on this. So as previously mentioned by my batchmates, you have to start reading, guys. You have to start reading. Internships are, of course, one way to go about it, but that's something that you'll only be pursuing in your semester breaks, at least in the first and second year. So apart from internships, what you need to do is you need to read a lot. You need to be able to understand the basics, and for understanding the basics, you need to read perhaps books that you find interesting, articles that you find in the newspapers, or read quality blogs that you feel are making sense to you. And then perhaps start developing a habit of writing what you understood on those issues in articles, as Karthik suggested. Writing is one of the best ways to research on a topic and then actually vomit out as much as you understood about that topic. That gives you a very clear distinction between how much information you were able to grasp. And in this process, you'll also figure out if whatever you studied, whatever you read made any sense to you, whether this is a subject area that you want to be able to dealing with for the rest of your life. So, of course, mooting then again is a very extensive journey that if you wish to undertake a corporate law moot, it will perhaps give you more knowledge than you could have received in the classroom studying that very law. That is the kind of potential that moots have, not just for corporate law, but for any field of law. So, mooting is something that you can, of course, explore. Writing, reading, all of these things are definitely going to be able to help you decide whether the kind of topics that we cover, the kind of topics that people write on, the kind of transactions, deals, law updates, regulatory actions that are going on around you, if these make sense to you, if these inspire you to know more about them, then perhaps you have an inkling towards corporate law. If you feel that it's not making sense, but you still make an effort to go clear up your basics and then try coming back to the article if you did not understand a part of it, that shows even more interest in the subject matter. That's an effort that you will have to make. But if you are doing all of this and you're still not able to develop an interest in this field, it's not at all a problem. There are hundreds of other areas that you can take up. So if Karthik or Rashid just would
Yeah,
want to add
sure.
something.
So the thing is, Shashwat advice is obviously very valuable. However, the thing is, for like, had I been the first year student here, like, this advice would have not motivated me or moved me, because reading of my own is not something I like, right? Because I am really shameful to say this, like, being in the profession of a lawyer, and I say that I don't like reading on of my own. Like, yeah, I feel guilty. However, I don't know, many of you would be feeling the same. So how did I do this? Like, how did I write so many papers? How did I gain expertise in arbitration law without taking up this like huge books and reading from page 1 to page large. That was not possible for me. So a most simple solution, let me present a screen, right? And I'll show you how you can start off like a psychological win over your own mind, right? A simple thing, right? So I'll present this. Wait. Share. Yeah, so see, what I've done is simply searched in the Google tab call for papers, right? Loctopus. Now, when you do this and you click on the first link that shows up, you will see call for papers for journals and blogs, right? Let me take, for example, this one, RGNL's Financial and Mercantile Law Review. So I'm definitely sure that you won't be expected, or it won't make any sense that you take up a company law book and start reading from section 1 to to like 300 odd sections of it. That won't make sense, right? So what you can do is find some motivators or find something which would force you to sit and read, right? So this is what approach I took in my initial years, right? So I look for call for papers. So this is one of the papers, and the submission date is 30th October. So it's like good 45 days of time, right? You open this, you go through what this journal needs, right? What volume it is. Now you go through the various areas of law that they're interested in, right? Now eligibility and stuff like that. Now for example, you take up this merger and acquisition part, right? Now you have to simply copy paste this subject area or simply type in Google, go in the news tab, right? So let me demonstrate this for you. Wait. The case citation, mergers and acquisitions, right? I go to the news tab, right? So like you'll come up with what are the latest developments or what developments with respect to mergers and acquisitions, right? Go through these articles, right? Like not exactly these, I'm not sure whether or not these may be relevant, but go through these articles, write-ups and everything, identify what is the latest development in this field, and simply pick a topic and start writing, read about it, like on that specific topic. This would subsequently lead you to gaining more and more insight into that specific area of law, right? And similarly you can take up topics or subject areas in the future, and this would actually give you some motivation to read, right? Because I don't think after this meeting and after hearing me, Arshit or Shashwat, you're going to open or download a soft copy book or take out a book from your shelf and start reading it out. I don't think that's sensible, and no one does that, right? So these are certain motivators that you can look for, and you can force yourself to abreast yourself with certain topics or areas of law. So this is something which I did, right? And it's something which I did which made me interested in disputes, right? This made me discover that I'm interested in arbitration or criminal law, any dispute related subject area. And this is what Arshit did, right? Arshit took up a IBC insolvency law moot, right? And that was the turning point in his life or his law school career, right? Because he had to read insolvency and he discovered his consequent interest in insolvency, right? So I think these are the things, these are the motivators that you can look for: competitions, writing papers, call for papers, and you can start reading about it specifically on that topics.
Very pertinently put, Karthikeya. Now, apart from what Karthikeya said, you can take benefit of the center. If you have any doubt about what to read, how to pursue a particular law, if you're confused about a particular journal, if you are confused about following a particular blog, write to us. Write a mail. We'll be replying. If you want us to organize a particular session for you, we'll do that. If you want us to guide you through some particular on a particular area of law, on a particular question of law, we'll do that. We have a team of 14, 15 people sitting in, 17 after you guys join in. Okay, so we'll be, and do follow our blog also, CCL Blog. Do let us know how how the content is. Do follow our updates. We are making, we are simplifying the language of the updates so that you can easily be able to read and follow. So do follow all of it. There's a blog called India Corp Law blog. I follow that. That's my favorite. And as I said, Business Standard newspaper and all these kind of things. There are some books also. So for that, we'll be having separate sessions and all, or you can write to us and let us know. But for now, I think we shall move on to the last bit of this orientation session, internships. Karthik, you would take on. Riddhi, do you have
I think I've added certain things about internships. It will be really great if there are any specific questions with respect to it, because I've already spoken as to you do not need to intend for tier 1 internships in your first year. You should start slow, start low, right? Yeah, Siddhant, if you have any question particularly to internship, please unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, I have one question. I think it's a
Cool.
confusion a lot of people had in the batch. So, will being part of the Center for Corporate Law give us an edge in corporate internship and then in the end placements also? Will it give us an edge in that sense? Not from an academic point of view, not because we learn more, but because of our CV point of view.
Yeah, obviously, right? Because it's a no-brainer. Because the thing is, when you send out your applications for any internship, right, may it be tier 1, tier 2, or any law firm, or any independent practitioner as well, right? So if your CV is aligned with the area of law you're seeking to apply for or intern for, right? So suppose you've sent out an application for a banking and finance team, right? You've sent out an application, say suppose to the HR of Luthra, and you've asked for an internship in their banking and finance team, right? So your CV should be aligned with that. And having a membership or being associated with a center dedicated to corporate law, which of which insolvency is a very essential part, would obviously add certain value to your CV. So if you're able to learn in the course of it, it's obviously nice and you're expected to do that. However, speaking strictly from how to handle or tackle or land internships, yeah, these things add brownie points, obviously they add brownie points. So you have to well, the first 1.5 years or 2 years of your law school can be haywire. Like you're not expected to keep it aligned in a specific area of law, because you're not expected to do so. But after that, your CV has to be aligned with a specific area of law, right? So yeah, you being a part of the Center for Corporate Law can obviously add one of the variables to your CV with respect to corporate law, right? You being a part of, suppose, any other center, public health law center, constitutional law society, or something like that, may add another variable, right? These things or these variables are permitted or not permitted, there's no set rules, but are advised to be there in your CV for the first 2 years. But make sure, like, once you progress into your third year, you start aligning yourself. You have to figure out a shortlist as to what area of law you're really interested in to work in the future, and accordingly you can delete, you can absent yourself from the membership of Center for Corporate Law or Center for Constitutional Law, or like other places you have been interested in or working in. So yeah, this is something with respect to your CV. Any other questions, please? Yeah, Riddhi, you have a question, I believe.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so this is not something regarding internships in particular. It's more like what would we be expected to do in being if we are a part of the center. So I wanted to know that, like you mentioned that we have a blog. So I wanted to know, is it us who write the blog, or is it someone else who writes the blog? We edit it and then we send it to the higher board or the editorial board. What is it?
Okay, yeah, so I got your question. Thank you, Riddhi. So okay, so I have we have seen a lot of questions with respect to center. So let us address this first, right? So right, so first of all, how to apply? We have already pointed out that we'll be releasing a call for applications now that you have your official email IDs. You'll receive a call for applications, right? It will be containing a Google form, right? Google form would be containing certain set of questions that you need to answer. Questions would not obviously be theoretical or as to technical questions of as to what does a merger mean or acquisition mean, not that, but like basically a statement of purpose as to why do you want to be part of this center, why do you see yourself to be working fruitfully for this center, or how do you see this center or working for this center help you, right? Now, to answer this question, obviously you need to be aware as to what you would be expected to do in the center, right? So when you come to the center, you be part of the center, you will be assigned different roles, right? You will be firstly asked as to what kind of you have been abridged with, what are the initiatives that we are taking up, right? Now you will be asked as to what projects or what work would you be able to assist on, or what you be interested to assist on. Suppose you're interested to assist on the book, right? We are coming up with a book. So when you take up that job, right, it's obviously related to insolvency and bankruptcy law. So you will be exposed to certain chapters that are sent to us. You'll be able to read those chapters. You'll be able to edit those chapters. You'll be able to review those chapters. You'll be able to work on the administrative part of it, how to communicate with the publishers, how to take permissions from the admin and stuff like that. So these are the things you will be able to do for each and every project. Suppose you're assigned a work, with respect to blog. So you will be, expected to manage certain websites that we have, right? You'll be able to manage the social media websites with respect to blog publications and other things, right? Now, these are the administrative tasks and the review tasks and the research tasks that you'll be able to take up. Secondly, no, we do not personally write the blogs. It's a blog which we invite articles from the entire world, right? Now the articles are sent to us by students, practitioners, professors, whatever. We take them up, we receive them on our submissions email ID. These are then distributed amongst our student editors. They do a preliminary review of it. If they feel that it is good enough, it is sent or escalated to the board of editors, right? The board of editors which we were introduced to, like the practitioners and the luminaries in the field. Now, if they approve it, it's published on the blog. If they reject it, it's not accepted or published on the blog, right? So in the process, you will obviously be exposed to various kind of articles relating to different kind of subjects, right? And this would also help you, or force you rather to read certain things which you would not read otherwise. So yeah, these are the things which you would be expected to do, and these are the things in doing so you'd help yourself learn things or learn laws or learn information.
Thank you.
To put it in another manner, okay, there are questions, but to put it in another way, just what Kartikeya said is that you may worship at your home. That's not joining CCL and learning corporate law. But you sometimes go to a temple and also worship. Why so? Because you get an environment of worshipping. That's the only difference is worshipping at home and worshipping at a temple. So if you are joining CCL, you are learning corporate law by worshipping at a temple, getting the environment of it. This is, if you recreate this scene, you will totally be able to understand what's the difference between joining the center and not joining the center. Yes, Siddhant.
Yeah, Siddhant. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, I actually had two questions in particular. First is that during the part where you're talking about the blog, right? You said you have a double peer review process. I wanted to ask you, is that process blind in nature? So, if, for example, if I submit, will the reviewer know I am Siddhant from year 1 NLUO, or will it just be a anonymous article for the reviewer? And my second question is, if I'm a member of CCL in the first year, will I have an edge in the second year applications? Will I have some kind of a bias to be chosen for the second year?
Oh yeah, so we have been following double blind procedure as of now, right? So neither the reviewers know who review whose article they are reviewing, and nor does the author know who is going to review their article, right? So which ensures obviously impartiality or bias and avoids the risk of it. And therefore, the very fact that you yourself can submit blog, being part of the blog or committee, you yourself is allowed to submit articles, obviously helps the cause, right? Secondly, as to Arshad, would you be able to take the second question?
What was it? I just missed that. The question, can the question be repeated?
Yeah, sure. I was just saying, like, if I become a member for CCL in the first year, right, and the committee will be reconstituted every year. So when second year the applications are out, will I have an edge against other non-first year CCL members in the application process? Like,
see, the selection part of the CCL is totally the discretion of the faculty advisors, right? But I must say that if you are in the center and if you are working really hard, faculty advisors don't have a reason to just not select you. Okay, so if you're a part of center, faculty advisor will have a reason to let you in your second year. But if you're not working, then there would be no reason. But we cannot answer that question about biases and all because it's a total discretion of the faculty advisors. We have no say when it comes to selection.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other question?
So I think we should wrap this up, right? Because I think there'll be questions. I'm sure there'll be questions. Yeah. So we have. So okay, fine. We'll take up this last question. After that, we may release some Google form to first of all your feedback as to how this session was, and also a column would be provided to you with respect to questions. So if we see a trend as to a commonality in the question, we can take up another session specifically addressing that trend, right? So yeah, your question, Arudhiti. Adruti, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I also asked it in the chat box. How often does the center
Okay.
interact
Yes.
with specialists in the industry?
Yeah. So as you might have already seen in the initial part of this session that we have interview series, like we have planning to come up with interview series. We already have guest lecture series, right? And we also have a board of editors who are in themselves industry experts. So in the course of this, when we are approaching people for interview series or we are approaching people for guest lecture series, we obviously come in an interaction with them, right? So it's almost on a regular basis, to answer your question, because we are in a constant effort to come up with initiatives, right? So we need to contact these people to firstly to invite them to come for an interview or to come for a guest lecture, for inviting chapters from them for our upcoming books, as to whether or not they'll be interested to do so, and if they're interested to do so, we are in constant communication with them as to what is the progress of it, if they need any assistance from us. So yeah, these are kind of communications keep on going on, right? And also when we handle the blog, and the board of editors themselves, like the board of editors itself constitutes of these industry experts, right? So you must imagine as to it's easy to imagine as to how often we would communicate with them, right? So yeah, so you'll get ample opportunities to come in a direct conversation or contact with these experts.
Yes. So guys, before Devansh concludes, the last thing, we'll be circulating a Google form for the feedback, as Karthiki pointed out. Apart from that, also any queries you can just email it to us throughout the year, throughout the academic year. If you're part of center, if you're not a part of center, that's equal when it comes to queries. We also take suggestions and feedbacks and the link comments to the LinkedIn post. So feel free to comment there when the post of the orientation come in, the feedback of the session, the feedback of individual speakers too, if you want. Okay, Devansh, let's continue.
Yeah. So thank you, Ashit, Kartike, Shashwat. And I believe you still have some questions, some queries, some doubts. So apart from the Google form, the email, we also have a LinkedIn page. If it's a doubt very small you want to address, you can drop in a text. Apart from that, as we said, the call for applications, you will be informed about it. You will see a mail. And on this note, I would like to conclude and say, again, we are grateful for your interest that you came for the orientation. And when we'll release the call for applications, we encourage you to apply, and we're hoping for an enthusiastic response. And now, before we end, Vishal Bijlani is here. He's the mentor. And if any final remarks, Vishal, if you would like to make, that would be great, because he couldn't join in the earlier because of the limit. Vishal, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Hey guys, this is Vishal, and I'm in my fifth year. It was a great session. Yeah, like these guys have covered almost everything. I don't think so. I have anything to add. Everything was covered very well, and we look forward to welcoming you all. It's a great center. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of substantial work here, and it would be great if you join. We are looking for. We have, I guess, 2 vacancies for the first years, and it would be selected by the faculty advisors. But be sure that you will get good amount of work, you will get quality work, and this will really help you develop your character and your aim. If you go for corporate law, then it would be really helpful. So do apply. And I guess Devansh, you can take it up. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Vishal. So I think that wraps it up. Uh, uh, I am being told that the call for application will be released today only, so that's also a nice thing. And with this, we won't take much of your
Not the
time.
call for applications. It is the
It's
recording which would be shared.
okay. I'm really sorry. I didn't read the previous messages. But again, we'll release it soon. Nonetheless. With that, I think we can close the session. Thank you for joining. We hope to see you all, the whole batch, in the physical college whenever it reopens, and do apply. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for your questions, like for
Thanks,
making
guys.
this more interactive and interesting.
It
Thank
was
you. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you soon.